Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on December 20th, 2022. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and with me, as always, not covered in tits.
Caffeine Rage. And how do you know this? I mean, I don't have a camera on.
Fair enough. On today's show, we'll of course be discussing the games that we have played. A U.S. senator presses Valve on Nazi content. Sony's £210, that's British pound, Duel Sense Edge controller will have a worse battery life than the original. And we will have a Steam Discovery queue tonight, likely. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage. We have a short news week, probably a short games discussion, and we, it's the holidays. People are doing stuff, so we didn't get any Community Corner submissions this week, so there's a good chance we'll do at least one Discovery queue.
If not more.
If not more. How has your week been?
Well, I was sick again.
Yep.
The joys of being married to a teacher, right?
Yep. I'm about to be sick soon. The joys of being married and having a child.
Well, for me, it was just a head cold this time. So, I wasn't out of it, but I had one hell of like a sinus headache Friday, Saturday, and going to Sunday. So.
Yeah, my family's passing around some kind of stomach bug. So.
Yeah, it's called COVID. Should get your vaccines.
No, not COVID this time. Maybe. Probably. I don't know. Since there's none of those telltale other symptoms of COVID, no, we've not tested. It's all like gross stuff that's coming out, from the top and bottom ends. Anyways, I will spare any more details. If my wife ever hears this, she's going to kill me. But yeah, that's probably what awaits me in a day or two. 3 if I'm lucky, so I can be sick on Christmas.
Yeah, I was going to say, good thing it's not like Christmas coming up or anything. I still got I was going to do holiday baking over the weekend, but it seemed like a really, really, really bad idea to have the oven fired up while, my head was absolutely pounding. Because that's what I need to do. In there doing measurements while, you have kind of like that head cold fog.
Yeah.
So
mess up a bunch of stuff, spill flour everywhere, start a fire.
I spill flour everywhere just, as normal operating.
I can do that just fine on my own, thank you very much.
Hey, if the baking cocaine isn't all over the place, I'm not really baking.
That's true. You're not doing a good job. If you haven't made a huge fucking mess. Yeah, that's how you know you care, though. That's how you know you're cooking with love. You just make a giant fuck off mess.
Yeah, but it's delicious, so and cleaning up. So I need to forgive that.
Yep.
Also, I make peanut butter stuff, and that also helps.
Yeah, I'm wound up. Normally, Katie cooks dinner on Tuesday night, but she's diseased, so I made chili tonight. That was pretty easy to make. We had all the stuff. Could just set it and forget it for a while. Because I had shit to do when I got home today.
Yeah, me, I just thawed out some hamburgers and made some quick hamburgers and going to do pasta tomorrow that will eat up the rest of the spinach. It's that one pasta recipe that has like almost a pound of spinach in it as well. Because, right?
Yeah. It sounds good, though.
Oh, if you like spinach.
I do like spinach.
Well, this is like spinach and garlic and broccoli all blended up, and it looks like puke green, but it's delicious.
I'm not a huge presentation person in terms of ooh, that looks gross. I mean, I guess it's nice if it looks nice, but I mostly care about if it tastes good.
Well, if you like spinach and broccoli, well, I do have the recipe for you.
I do like spinach, and I do like broccoli. Spinach has grown on me over the years. I used to not like spinach. Used to be like, oh, this weird lettuce. But
it probably helps that whenever I make spinach, it's not boiled to the absolute death, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. I learned how to cook. My parents were both good cooks at the things that they were good at cooking at, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like what they could do well, and everything else turned out gross. And my
Yeah.
mom would often overcook the shit out of vegetables, leaving them all mushy and weird.
Same, especially on vegetables here. So that's why I would like eat raw broccoli over cooked broccoli because I remember, yeah, it being boiled so much that you bite into it, it just sprays water.
Yeah. It's not so much a bite it is a squish.
Yeah. Speaking of a squish, games we played?
Sure. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first? We've each only got one, so.
I'll go ahead and go first since this is one that you're actually curious about as well. So,
Okay.
Potion Craft, Alchemist Simulator. The latest in the simulator games I've played this year, right?
Yeah.
So, this is... I played this on Game Pass. I did not play this on Steam, even though there is going to be a Steam link in the comment, or in the show notes. So, Alchemist Simulator, it's a shop sim slash alchemy slash like life sim thing going on. Or light sim light. Where you are a roaming alchemist who comes across the town that has a abandoned building. You basically co-op that to build an alchemy shop. And as you build up a reputation for either good or bad, you attract customers to sell your goods as you try to perfect your alchemy skills and explore, what it is to be an alchemist. It does have a little bit of like life sim where you're having to tend your garden to get some of your herbs, although that is just kind of like random what pops up at the start of each day. The Steam store does say that they're going to expand upon this in the future because right now it's kind of there and that's about it. And that's really what I can say about a lot of the game is that there's a lot of promise, but they never really go into it. And this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but it feels like this game should be on mobile. All right? For a few reasons. It's not just, this is a simple game. This belongs on a phone. Although, that could also work. The way that you interact with the shop is all very tactile. Where you take your ingredients from your inventory, and you either put them in the pot directly, or you're putting them in the mortar or pestle, and grinding them up. And as you grind them up, depending on the ingredient that you're using and the element that's aligned to, the classic 4 elements, earth, fire, air, and water, it changes the direction that you're moving on the alchemy map in the background. So if you look at the very first screenshot, you can see the start of a potion where you're in the center of the alchemy map. And whatever ingredient they're grinding is producing a line on the map. And all ingredients have a primary state where it's a whole ingredient that if it's put in the potion, it goes so far on this trail. And each item has their own pattern, but also their own affinity. So like I said, if you're doing a fire focused item, it's going to be going to the left, which is where fire is on the alchemy map. But, if it's like fire air, it might be going, instead of all the way to the left, it'll be going from, instead of the 9 o'clock position, it might be going 10:30. And as you move around the map, you're picking up, first of all, experience books, which will allow you to level up to get traits, which honestly are all okay. They're very, just kind of there, they're just flat percentage bonuses to getting to getting how much money you get from selling something, or a radius increase on how far you can see on the alchemy map to be able to try to plot out where to go next if you're not building a particular potion. But the idea of building a potion is you're going to these effects that are at set spots on the map. and the closer you line up your icon, your potion icon, to that effect when you kind of like finalize it, which I'll get to, it determines the grade, which there's 1 to 3 on the strength of it. And to get 3, you have to be pretty much like spot on. You'll like zoom in very, very gentle motions. Otherwise, you're going to get a 2, which sells well, but not nearly as well. So it really pays off to try to build up a recipe that has like tier 3 effects that you could just save. But it feels very tactile, where you're sitting there with the mortar pestle, grinding with the mouse, and it feels like I bring the analogy of Monument Valley, where while the game is still good on PC, there's something about how moving everything with your finger on a touchscreen made it feel like it was more connected to the game world. And it feels like that would be the same here, where, grinding with the mortar and pestle would feel more connected if you're doing it on a touchscreen, where you're stirring to move your potion along the path that you determined, would feel more connected, and as well as running the bellows to essentially finalize that potion effect once you get to a spot, would feel more satisfying. But that's a minor gripe. I think my big gripe with the game is that it feels like the skeleton of a really great game. It's not a bad game because it's a skeleton of a game, but it gets repetitive very quickly until you do a lot of the challenges, which some of them are kind of counterintuitive, or you have to really go out of your way to try to get them. Like, why would you ever want to get 3 effects on a potion unless a customer is specifically asking for it? Because that's just wasting money. So, until you go in and start looking at like essentially the achievements list, you're not going to progress because it just doesn't feel natural. And the fact that you have the same customer showing up time and time again for, how many times can this woman get locked out of her house and blow the door up? And yes, that is the solution. Whenever somebody shows up and says that, my front door is jammed and I can't get in my house, you sell them a potion of explosion, because, of course, right?
That sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah. So, it feels like it doesn't do a lot with the world. And it might just be the fact that I'm on, chapter 3... No, I'm on chapter 4. I finished 3 of the achievement list, essentially. And as you go through, it takes off different things. And plus, there's also, the entire alchemical machine in the basement that I've only done one thing with, that eventually gives you the Philosopher's Stone, which, changes how alchemy works in the game, but, that's neither here nor there. That's extremely late game stuff. So, right?
Philosopher's Stone?
Yeah.
Is that talked about at the beginning of the game? The mythical Philosopher's Stone.
Well, you go down to the basement and you look at the recipe, and one of them talks about the Philosopher's Stone. So, but the recipe's damaged, so it's late game stuff. Yeah. Pretty much immediately. Like I said, it's not a bad game. It feels more shallow than it should be. There is challenge there, especially if you want to try to, build up a lot of money. Because hitting the tier 3 on recipes can be very tedious, and then going in and trying to perfect them, okay, well, I could get a tier 3, healing potion with, 3 herbs. But now I helped this weirdo that harvests mushrooms that gives me a better option to get to that effect. So I could go revamp that potion and get it down to 2 and have it a more efficient use of my resources that I can put somewhere else. So there is stuff here to, if you really want to min-max, but at the same time, there's not really a reason to, because it's kind of a chill game. There's no like time limits or anything. The most tense part is, like really zooming in if you're trying to, be careful with getting a particular effect and trying to get like a tier 3 for, like the alchemy machine in the basement, or if somebody's paying a very high amount for a, tier 3 effect with, a particular item, which does pop up occasionally. That's like the most intense part of the game, but even then it's kind of, well, I would like this to have mushrooms in it, but, I'll buy this anyway. So, all right.
Yeah, man. Want it to have mushrooms, man.
Oh, wrong type of mushrooms. These are poisonous, not hallucinogenic.
Oh, jeez.
Things do get rather complex, especially if you're trying to get some of the more advanced effects. And then there's also, I never even talked about the reagents. So there's, 2 bases, at least right now in the game. There supposedly is going to be more. It almost feels like an early access game, to be perfectly honest, without the title of early access. To the point that, the main thing on the store page is talking about upcoming features, and one of them being new talents and garden upgrades, right?
Yeah.
But the basis of all the potions I can make right now is water. And you're able to essentially water down or add more of your base to the potion, which brings essentially your potion back towards the middle of the map. So if you're just a little bit off and you're in the right direction, you actually kind of use that to tune a little bit more on your potion. And thankfully, you can save these recipes. You have so many slots at the beginning, and then a vendor shows up with enchanted paper that you could use to expand your recipe book. So, if you have like this really complex long recipe for like invisibility, or whatever if you want to do, like a funny effect. Although some people don't like the fact that, you're selling a potion with multiple effects. Like, hallucinogenic lust invisibility potion. Right?
Ooh, that sounds like a quick way to become a sex pest.
Or a hell of a Saturday night.
I suppose.
Or, acid poison slowing, right? Right?
I mean, that sounds like a pretty badass potion or poison to apply to a weapon in an RPG.
So there is other things you can do with it, but at the same time, you're not really incentivized to do so, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a little disappointed at the game, is that, it feels like one of those games that would work better in a situation where you can play it for 5 minutes or so, That's why I'm not trying to use a backhanded compliment on saying this feels like a mobile game, because it feels like it's more suited for a situation where you can play it for a few minutes rather than a PC game where you're playing it for an extended period of time.
Is this game on Switch?
Actually, I don't know.
It sounds like it would be a great Switch game as well.
Actually, it is. Oh, no. It's a different one. There's a different Alchemist simulator on Switch.
Oh.
No, it's only on PC on the various storefronts.
Well, I guess if you have a Steam Deck or one of the many other PC game or, handheld devices that can play PC games that exist now, it might be a good way to go. Who knows? It might come to mobile eventually. I mean, it sounds interesting. I'll still probably check it out because it's on Game Pass.
I will say that it's definitely not a bad game, but I'm going to their subreddit, and a lot of people are using the map to essentially draw to use a giant Etch-a-Sketch.
That's pretty neat, actually. I kind of like that. Certainly not using it as intended, but I can think of tons of little games I've come up with in the middle of other video games I'm playing. That's a pretty good one.
It does take a bit to get going because at the very beginning you only have what is growing in your enchanted garden, and I'm not sure how much they script what actually shows up, but I know after a while it was starting to get pretty random, and one of the NPCs actually says that, your garden could grow anything. So some of my recipes I was having issues with because it was using stuff I had in abundance in the beginning, but all of a sudden, it doesn't show up anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, is that?
Yeah, I think so, unless you had any questions about it.
I don't think so. I mean, I still check it out because, like I said, it's on Game Pass. I'll play a lot of stuff on Game Pass since I don't have to, air quotes, pay for it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Something I played on Game Pass though that I'm going to talk about this week is High on Life.
All right.
This is a lot of the things I'm going to say, I think are going to come across more negative than they truly are. I'm not the target audience of this game. For anyone listening who doesn't know, High on Life is a first-person shooter that was written or developed. I mean, he's not the sole developer, but Justin Roiland, most prominently known for Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites. Although Justin Roiland has got a pretty long career. He's worked on or in a number of other projects, but Rick and Morty has been his runaway success project, and has started several others off the back of that. So I am someone who is 50-50 on Rick and Morty. I think there are some episodes that are good. I think there are some episodes that are bad. I think there are a lot of episodes that have good bits on them that people remember more fondly than they actually are.
The Monty Python effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me put out just like what I think are some pretty clear-cut objective facts about this game, and then I'll talk about my experience with it. It seems to be pretty heavily inspired by Metroid Prime in the way with how you can interact with the world. It is a first-person shooter slash action platformer, and all of the equipment that you get has got multiple uses for it. One of which is a combat use, and the other which is a utility use that allows you to interact with the map in new and different ways. And you can go back and you can visit old, previously completed maps with new suit or weapon abilities to access new areas. I don't know how prevalent that's going to be as you go through the game in terms of like going through old areas again with new abilities to fight new enemies and another boss or something. I don't know how much that's going to play into it. I've only played for about 4 hours so far. But it does have that very, that at its core. You've got sort of two aspects of this. You have a suit that you get that's like a modular bounty hunter suit that you get upgrades for over the course of the game. Like a dash for, a movement ability, both to dodge in combat and to allow you to air dash to get to other areas of the map. There's a jetpack you can get. One of the weapons that you get is a knife that also has a sort of like Indiana Jones-esque whip ability to it that lets you grab onto ledges and certain other objects and fling yourself around a map area. The starting pistol that you get has an upgrade that shoots out these little grenade things, which can both be used for combat and can be used to manipulate certain environmental targets that you can see. They've got, sort of a green splash of paint on them, and you can shoot them with the secondary weapon effect, and they will move and can be used to sort of create new traversable areas or solve little puzzles, things like that. I don't know if Metroid was the key influence for this, or if there are a bunch of games that do this, right? But this makes me think of Metroid Prime specifically, which was the 3D Metroid game that was on the GameCube originally. I think has it been remade on Switch? I don't remember. Regardless, doesn't matter. That's where I think that this is inspired from. I think for the most part, that stuff is handled pretty well. It suffers from some of the same pitfalls, as in sometimes you're not sure if you're supposed to be able to come back to an area later with another power, or if it's not just an area you can't get to. lots of these types of games suffer from that if they're not clearly signposted. So it's got some of those issues. It has some of the advantages of that, meaning that in combat, you can do some pretty interesting things using the environment to your advantage, jumping around, swinging around, air dashing, that kind of stuff. The shooting mechanics are pretty solid. They're not perfect, but I don't think that this game is truly designed as a straight up first person shooter. I mean, that's the main way that you defeat enemies, but all of this movement stuff makes me feel like that they were designed to work hand in hand. And the game is the most fun when it gives you a good sort of level that you can jump around in, swing around in, air dash between things, double jump, etc. while you're shooting your gun, killing the enemies. It does do what I think of as the thing from modern Doom, where that if you get like a like a glory kill on an enemy, you regenerate health. So that encourages you to run and gun a lot, get in there, go for cool headshots, use secondary weapon effects, use your cool like stabby knife for finishing moves, all that kind of stuff. When it's all working really well together, it feels good. When it's not working well, whenever the level is not designed appropriately, or if you're perhaps not in tune with a particular suit power that the game wants you to be using a lot at the moment, it can feel real bad. That's the nature of these systems. I think it does more good than bad. Graphically, it's got some interesting design choices. Now, this I think is a little bit objective. If you like the art style of Rick and Morty, Solar Opposites, or the way it approaches creature design, you're going to like this. There's a lot of that there. If you don't like that, it's going to feel really gross. For me, because it's kind of hit or miss. There's some stuff that feels a little gross, some stuff that feels pretty cool. But it is interesting. Everything feels pretty interesting. So I think that's a pretty solid, in the positive category. Sound design is pretty bad, unfortunately. It's got a lot of really shitty, repetitive music, and we'll get to the most annoying part of it. Right? Yeah. And we'll get to the most annoying thing about the sound design in a little bit. It's the talking guns, but I'll talk more about that soon. And then otherwise, I think it does pretty good with some of the tongue-in-cheek fourth wall breaks. There has been nothing that has made me like belly laugh, but I've got a lot of good like chuckles or knowing smirks out of it. And I think that's pretty solid. There are times when it gets too overbearing. There are times when it, you're like, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a joke or not. But I feel like about 75% of the time, the joke lands, it gets a chuckle or a smirk out of me. But again, that one might be a little more objective, because if you really like Justin Roiland and his style of humor, then you're probably going to like that a lot more than I do.
I like funny things.
Justin Roiland's kind of hit or miss for me, like I've already said. That's about all I can say without getting into some of the most subjective portions of this game that I tend to find very annoying and that you would absolutely hate. One of the big, air quotes, selling points of this game is that the guns talk, or well, the weapons talk. There's more than just guns, but the weapons talk. They're voiced by characters, or well, by voice actors that you know and love from other Justin Roiland things, although so far he does like 3/4 of all the voices of the things. And Justin Roiland, as hard as he tries, really only has like 2 voices. It's like, oh, geez, oh, gee, Willikers, like that kind of like, oh, like crackly, scratchy voice. And then kind of like a slightly lower registered version of that. And the guns, or the weapons, fucking talk constantly. It's not quite nonstop, but it's very frequent, making comments in combat about, getting a headshot, like, oh, that was fucking cool. Like, whenever you do like a trick shot combo with a special, weapon ability combined with a headshot, combined with swinging around. And that feels pretty good the first or second time that it happens, but it keeps happening. And it just gets really old. the gun or the weapons offer a lot of sort of saucy commentary about what's going on, and they're very one note kind of characters. The knife has got like a boner for murder. It just wants you to stab everybody. And that joke is funny once or twice, and then it gets old that he's constantly walking around telling you to stab people. What I call the Morty gun, which is the pistol that you get, which is just Justin Roiland's Morty voice, constantly, has probably got the most personality because it's the weapon that you will be using the most throughout the game, I think. And it kind of has some swings and roundabouts with his personality, but it's just like this really, I mean, it's Morty. The gun is fucking Morty. It's really unsure about itself. It stutters a lot. It is relying on you to do things. The plot is that some aliens show up on Earth and they're going to enslave its people and turn them into drugs, which, whatever. That's fine. You turn your house into a spaceship and you fly to some city, which serves as like the hub where that you can go to all the shops and upgrade your equipment and, interact with a few other characters. And then it kind of serves as the hub for the spokes of the mission design. There's this like a really annoying guy that you meet that is supposed to be a bounty hunter, and he's like down on his luck, and he gives you his suit and teaches you how to be a bounty hunter, but he's just like an alcoholic asshole. So I guess he's kind of Rick in this situation so far, and he like expects you to die all the time and like messes with your shit. But you go to the house, he activates the Bounty Hunter 5000, which has a little port, like that's really what it's called, the Bounty Hunter 5000. And it generates a little portal, takes you to the world, air quotes, world, or the level where that you're supposed to be going after your bounty. And you're working your way through like this alien space cartel to somehow save humanity. And the guns talk non-fucking stop. After the first 2 hours, there's a little pop-up that shows up that's like, hey, you can turn the chatter down on the guns in case they're annoying you. And I turned it down, and it makes some difference, but they still talk too much. And it's so frustrating. There are bits that they will always say. Every time you get a new weapon, they've got sort of like a spiel, and the first level where you use them, they're the most talkative, and then they get a little quieter. But like, you get, for at least where I'm at, I'm getting a new weapon every single level I go to. So, I'm having talking weapons galore that don't shut up. And that really bugs the shit out of me. I could see someone who really likes that sort of thing, like that sort of weird meta, whatever, like the guns making comments on how you're killing people. But it gets old fast.
It sounds like, and this is going to be a poor analogy, but yeah, hear me out.
Okay.
My issue I had with Shadow Warrior after a while, even though it's the character talking, the lines get repetitive because, that's just the nature. There's only somebody that they can have. But the fact that they have the guns saying it, right?
Yeah.
Aha, the guns are talking. Right?
Yep. And then it does these lots of little commentary things on game development that I think it thinks are funny. I'm sure Justin Roiland laughed his ass off. And I'm just like, that's not funny. That's annoying. Like they do a thing where that, in this...
They have loot boxes?
Yeah. There's a loot box in the shop that you can go to. And it's like, this is a loot box. You actually have to spend real money on it. And then if you try to buy it, the shopkeep is like, I'm just fucking with you. I wouldn't sell that to you for real money. I'm not going to sell it to you at all. That's mine, you asshole. And it's like, okay. That's not really the funniest way you could do that joke, but sure.
Whatever.
The one I'm thinking of, though, that I was about to mention is that there's this kid, whenever you go in for your first bounty, whenever you go into the sewers to get to like the lower part of the city or whatever, where that you're going after this bounty, this kid jumps out and he's like aggravating you, and you can shoot him and kill him, and like you have to repeatedly try to shoot him and kill him. It's like 3 or 4 times before it actually lets you shoot him and kill him. He's like, oh my God, you just killed a kid. Like the gun is like, you just killed that fucking kid. You just blew that fucking kid away. I can't believe that they let you kill that kid. Like deliberate fourth wall breaking. And then later on, you meet the kid's mom, and she's like, oh my God, someone killed my son. Can you believe it? Someone killed my son. Well, he's really 30 because our alien species isn't, we're really long lived. The censors wouldn't let you just straight up kill a kid. And I'm like, this isn't funny. Like, is this supposed to be meta humor? This isn't funny. Is it supposed to be a commentary? It's really stupid commentary.
That seems like my take on 99% of the stuff I see from Rick and Morty. This is supposed to be funny.
Yeah. And
which I'm sure for others it's fucking hilarious, but I'm too old and not the target demographic. And
yeah.
Right.
Yep. The game also lets you make choices that I have no idea if they matter or not. And I don't know if that's supposed to be some kind of commentary on game design. The first boss that you kill is like it's a clone. She's got a whole bunch of clones, and like the storyline is that they are fighting each other for control of the city sewers, basically. She's like some kind of crime boss. And so whenever you kill and defeat her clone, she had captured another clone. And the clone is like, oh yeah, I'll set myself free in a little bit. The minions will come along and they'll rescue me. And you can kill her. Like you can, just kill her. And it gives you a couple chances. She's like, no, stop killing me. Do you really want this other clone to be in charge? And the gun is like, bitch, I don't know you. I don't know who this other person is. I don't care. And it's like, well, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Is that supposed to be meta commentary? And you can kill her. And I have no idea if it makes a difference or not. And I looked up online, and some people were like, we killed her, or we didn't kill her. Does it matter? And other people are like, we don't know. We haven't beat the game yet to see if there's any differences in the choices. So, who knows?
I'm going to go probably not.
Yeah, probably not. You're probably right. But, so it's just so interesting. It's got slightly above average gameplay. I wouldn't call it like a masterpiece of gameplay or anything. But it's pretty solid. But then the game, or the rest of the gameplay, the talking guns, like everything that I think is supposed to be the biggest selling point of this game is annoying at least 50% of the time for me. So I don't know. If you're in the target, I think if you love Rick and Morty, Kyle, if you're still listening, you'll love this game. Right? If you still listen to the show, which I haven't heard from in a while, I hope you're okay, buddy. But if you still listen to the show, like, you'll fucking love this. Go play it. But to everyone else out there, like, I don't know, man. If you really like Rick and Morty and or Solar Opposites, you'll probably like this. And if you really don't like those shows, you probably won't. And if you're a weirdo like me who's sitting in the middle, I don't know. Try it on Game Pass if you've got it. Oh, it crashes all the time. I almost forgot about that.
No, that's meta humor.
It crashes every hour, almost on the hour. And I don't see anybody else complaining about this online, so I'm guessing it's just some kind of weird hardware issue that I'm experiencing. That sometimes happens in PC gaming, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe people can't stand playing it long enough to discover that it crashes every hour.
No, it wears out its welcome that quickly. I have a feeling that they only added the option to turn down the amount of the guns talk because the playtesters were, starting to kill themselves.
Quite possibly. I mean, truthfully, this feels like this feels like the kind of product, the kind of thing that's made by someone who's become successful enough that people stop telling them no.
The Lucas effect.
He needs an editor. This game needed some editing. It needed to be pared down a little bit. Someone needed to turn the default dial down on the talking guns a little bit. Someone needed to add some different style of voice acting, or stop making so many like dick and fart jokes.
Yeah, but see, that's what he's done for. So, right?
Yeah.
For his fans, it would be a disappointment if it wasn't that.
Yeah. Nobody told him no, and I always think that's a problem. Like, you need somebody to tell you no. Because no matter how good of a creator you are, no matter how good you are at your craft or how smart you are, you don't know everything. and if you don't have people to help shape your vision, it's gonna get fucked up.
The prequels.
Yeah. So, play it, Kyle. Everyone else decide for yourself. That's high on life.
I think I'd rather scoop my eyes out with a grapefruit spoon.
Yeah, fair enough. Seems a little excessive, but if it works for you, who am I to judge? So yeah, that's what I played this week. Which means let's move on to do the news.
Woo!
Our first news topic of the night: U.S. senators press Valve on Nazi content.
Yeah, so this is a senator in. Hang on, let me see which state this was. It was a Democratic senator, New Hampshire. Because there's a fair amount of Nazi shit popping up on Valve, on Steam lately. I mean, it's not like, right now there's literally a game about fucking Hitler on the front page, right?
Is there really a game about fucking Hitler on the front page? Hang on. Hang on. Store, featured. Come on, load trending. For me. Come on, baby. Go to the store for me. It's not going. I want to see my Hitler fucking. Steam just isn't doing anything.
It's too embarrassed now.
I guess. Let's just go on the Google on Chrome. All right, store.
I mean, I'm fairly sure this one isn't tailored to me. I hope not, at least.
I don't see Hitler. Where did you say it was?
New and trending.
New and trending.
I can't be the only one that's seeing sex with Hitler, right?
All right. I am not seeing sex with Hitler.
On my new and trending, I see fresh start, clean simulator.
Never mind. Here it is. Sex with Hitler too. I just had to scroll down a little farther.
I was about to say, there's no way I'm the only one seeing this, right?
I remember the first one, actually. Now that I see this, I remember.
Yeah, well, it was so good it required a sequel, right?
So, yeah, hell yeah.
But, this isn't the only thing that's popping up. There's, at least according to this article, other dog whistles that's white power, misogyny, and it does seem like Valve is just not policing it. I mean, there's literally a game about fucking Hitler on the Steam front page, right?
Yeah, Valve has a history of this, though. I mean, this isn't the first time, that they've had a sex with Hitler game.
No, it's the sequel. It's literally the second one.
The last time I remember there being a stink about this was with that game called Hatred.
Yeah, but honestly, that one feels like that was kind of a lot to do about nothing. Because it honestly, every gameplay I saw it reminded me of a teenager that was trying to be edgy,
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. This, maybe I'm too, cynical and ingrained in the system of, well, yeah, of course, Valve doesn't moderate shit. They've never moderated shit. This doesn't surprise me, Yeah. It doesn't feel all that newsworthy. But, to someone, I guess, who's a normie, this is probably, some really... You know what? It should be. It should be some really shocking bullshit. I'm the one with the problem here.
Yeah.
I'm the problem. Actually, Valve is the problem, but I'm just cynical about PC gaming, I guess. I mean, this is something, though, that gamers have been, banging the drums for years, going all the way back to, Total Biscuit and the early days of Podquisition, and at least a decade ago, people were saying Valve does not have strong enough moderation. If they have moderation at all, it's not strong enough.
I mean, it was pretty much once they opened the floodgates after a green light. They went from honestly a bit too strict to get in to now it's literally people selling stolen art assets, right?
Yeah, open season. Come on in, guys. That's Valve's approach now. Mm-hmm. I mean, a happy medium would be good Valve needs more moderation. Valve needs more teams of people pouring over basically every aspect of Steam, from reviews to comment sections to games. You're not going to get everything. No matter how many people you throw at a problem, you're not going to get everything, right? But if Valve had dedicated paid teams of people who sifted through all of this stuff, they would stop quite a few issues. And I don't even care about the Hitler sex game. Like, whatever. That's not that big of a deal to me. Like, people get horny for weird stuff. Weird stuff sells.
Yeah, like tits on tits.
Like tits on tits all the way down. Tits on Hitler. I mean, that's literally, looking at the screenshots for this game, it's tits on Hitler. Like, it sells.
If Hitler had tits, maybe he wanted to kill all the Jews. Who knows?
Maybe someone would have loved him if he had tits. Probably not. Women were treated very badly, historically speaking. They're treated badly now. But anyways, our depressing timeline as it is, I feel like that there are a lot more issues with games which are, scams or just absolutely broken or happen to be, malware or crypto miners.
Yeah, I'm shocked that there's not more of that on Steam, actually. I know it's popped up occasionally, but it's at least seems to be the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah, I can think of 2 or 3 instances off the top of my head. Like, I can't remember the games, but I can remember these crypto mining games that have, games that have popped up that are actually just masquerading crypto miners. I can think of a few instances of those, but that's, I think, fairly uncommon. But, all of the sort of rug pull products in general, the early access developers that just disappeared. And again, you won't catch everything. Sometimes that's just going to happen, which sucks. I don't want to give them excuses, but sometimes it happens, But if Valve had more eyeballs on it, instead of trying to rely on algorithms to do everything, you would have fewer problems like this.
There's just, like you said, there's been so many other issues pop up on Steam, and to us that's been in it for a while, it does feel a little, right?
Yeah. And this is the kind of thing that people who don't, and it's so complicated, right? Because this is more of an indictment of an entire system, not just Valve, but an entire political system of people who don't know what they're talking about are wading into the deep end on something, and it's the wrong issue. People look at weird sex stuff on the internet. That's been the tale of the internet since its inception. That's not really a big problem for the most part. Mm-hmm. Go out, regulate these corporations, regulate, the way that they treat their employees, engage in creating better systems of checks and balances in the first place to prevent the actual measures of harm that are happening. Take real steps to prevent or reduce instances of doxing. Look at actual discrimination issues within the industry. Those are all problems that our lawmakers should be interested in, not sexing Hitler.
It does make me wonder how this popped up, right?
Yeah. Someone's kid, here's how it happened. Someone's kid saw it and was like, oh, look at this, mom or dad. And maybe it wasn't one of the senator's kids. Maybe it was one of their staffers' kids. But somebody's kid saw this. And we've got the whole, oh my God, think of the children.
Yeah.
They're seeing sex with Hitler. I guarantee, I'd bet money on it.
Probably.
Feel very grumpy. I've just been very grumpy all over this.
Yeah. I'm looking at the senator's political positions, and I agree with her on some stuff. Definitely not on some others, but that's kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else to add unless we've missed something.
It does look like she has some controversies going on, or as in the past, with issues with staffers. Caught on videos swearing at Trump, which does humanize her a little bit more, but at the same time, expect lawmakers to be set to a higher standard, right?
Yeah. I think, okay. So when it comes to things like swearing, I think people get way too uptight about it. human beings swear. That's a very normal thing for people to do. I don't mind
Really,
if my
no fucking
politicians
way.
swear, right? I don't mind if my politicians swear. I don't mind
Yeah,
if my
I would just don't want it to turn into the British government where they're right.
the British government can be really entertaining to watch sometimes, though. But yeah, no, you're right.
I've always just felt like our leaders should be held to a higher standard. So having them go after this issue over everything else, right?
Yeah,
Although, neither of us are New Hampshire, so we technically don't have a horse in this race. So, right?
right. But yeah, I'm just, to me, it feels like this is not a problem. Why aren't you looking at things that are actually problems? But
Honestly, it it feels more like she's trying to drum up an issue for her reelection campaign because she's on I believe, the 2022, or sorry, the 2024 election reelection cycle.
that makes a lot of sense, actually. Good luck in your campaign, I suppose. I don't know.
I'm just double checking. I know she was reelected in 2022, so maybe for constituents, or maybe this is like a holdover, or I don't know.
Yeah. If you're a good candidate who treats trans people like people and wants to hold people like Donald Trump to account, I hope you win.
According to this, she won a narrow victory over her Republican opponent, who was claiming, hey, how about that? The election was rigged. Oh, right.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our next news topic. Let's get off of this soapbox and get onto a different kind of soapbox.
Yeah, so Sony's $200 controller, I'm converting to US dollars because freedom, right?
Freedom units.
Has a worse battery life than the original controller. What? Right? So,
yeah,
the Dual Sense controllers, and if I slip up and call this the Dual Shock, that's because it's been, like 2 decades where they had their controllers be the Dual Shock, and now it's the Dual Sense. Right?
Yep.
So, anytime I say Dual Shock, talking about this controller, it's Dual Sense. Replace that in your mind.
It's Sony's fault.
Yeah. Sony's not as bad as Microsoft about naming things, but they decided to change this.
No, Microsoft is the fucking king of shitty names for things.
I'm convinced that Microsoft has like a random number generator somewhere.
Probably.
Either that or they're drunk and just try to count.
Oh, that's definitely true.
So, the DualSense controller is coming out next month, and there's no official word on just how long the battery lasts. But Sony has come out to a couple news agencies saying that the battery life is worse than the stock controller, which is just mind-blowing to me.
It's interesting that they're saying that. To me, that says one of two things. Either this controller has got other problems that they want to use this as a get out in front of it kind of thing, or that there's like some internal leaks that, some leaks to the press or some early models that got out, and so they're trying to cut that off at the press.
Well, The Verge had a hand-drawn preview, and they noted the battery was significantly worse. Or, sorry, noticeably worse is the term that they used. So this is a response to The Verge having a preview model. And one of the things that they've kind of come out and said is that they're really pushing the idea of this lock-on braided cable to power the thing, because that's what you want for a $200 controller. Wired, right?
Yep. It's so interesting. I'm sorry.
There's some interesting things about this controller. I'm not going to lie. The fact that their solution to the massive issues of joystick drift that's been going on is to build a system where you can essentially take the front plate off. You can imagine a dual sense controller, a dual shock controller. That configuration. you could take the bottom part of the bezel off and slide the entire joystick module out and replace it. So that's one way to do it, right?
Two things. One we talked about before the show, and another one I literally just thought of. The first one is that I'm all for things being easier to repair. Like, yes, I want companies to make better stuff that breaks less often, but everything does break. And when that happens, I want to be able to repair or service it myself. So the fact, whether it's hiding a problem or whatever, like the fact that they're doing this, I think is a good thing overall, like a good design decision. The second thing is that the Xbox Elite controller can do this. The Xbox Elite controller has little lock-on plates where you can take off all the buttons, all the triggers, all the joysticks, and all the little modules for them and replace them and create a custom button layout.
Yeah, this is just the joystick modules from the looks of it. I will admit that I didn't look too much into the Microsoft version of this, mostly because it seems to me a little crazy to be spending this much on a single controller. Because this is starting to get up there.
I disagree, but I mean, think about like how much do our, accessories cost? Like my keyboard and my mouse together were about $150. Like they're a high quality keyboard and mouse. I mean, this is a little more expensive than that, but
I think my mouse and keyboard is sub 100. I got my mouse on sale, and even then, it's one of the older MMO mice.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that my keyboard is sub 70. So
I have the same keyboard that you do, and mine was $70 from Amazon. But now my mouse is a $70-ish mouse.
Yeah, see, mine's a 30. But then again, I've also taken my mouse apart to repair it.
Yeah.
/ clean it. And now I'm going in.
But, I will spend good money to buy higher quality products for my gaming experience, to have a keyboard that lasts, has a certain feel to it, mouse, etc. I don't blame, anybody for spending $200 on a controller. There's a time in my life that I would have been like, why the fuck are you doing that? But I get it now. As long as it's actually a high quality product. If it's like, just charging all the extra money because they can get away with it, that's bullshit, and fuck you, Sony, and why would you do that? But if it is actually a high quality or higher quality product, I'm okay with that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got my keyboard actually on sale one time, so I guess it's just I'm a cheapskate. Because right.
Which I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Like, there's different levels of stuff out there for different people, or, patient people can wait and get stuff on sale or whatever. Like, my keyboard broke, and I needed a keyboard, and I didn't want to use one of my shitty backup keyboards.
Yeah, mine was on its last legs, but it triggered, like, some sort of price alert I had going, so, alright.
Yeah. But anyways, the price doesn't bother me too much as long as it's a high quality product that's worth the money.
Which, that's kind of the problem, is that there's really no way to know until it's been out for a fairly long time, and by that point, right?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there some issues with the Microsoft Elite controller?
Not that I can remember off the top of my head, but probably. I know a lot of the Xbox One sort of release model controllers had problems with rumble. Their rumble packs would die early. The haptic feedback wore them out, because the Xbox controller has got haptic feedback only in the triggers, at least the early models. I think the new ones have haptic feedback in the triggers and the joysticks. But anyways, it would wear the motors out and they would die really soon. It also had issues where the buttons, the ABXY buttons would get sticky and sort of wear out quickly. But I'm not sure about the Elite controller. It's possible.
I remember seeing some people talking about how the early ones had some quality control issues. I'm not finding anything on a Google search, but it's also third party people talking about stuff. So And we never actually really talked about the battery life on this thing. So,
Right.
there's no set, like the battery life is so many hours on the Edge controller because, of course, they're calling it the DualSense Edge because, right? But the base controller, according to comments and also the reporting in this article, is 6 hours.
Okay.
The article says they can't go further than 5 hours at most without a recharge on the base model. So they're expecting 4-ish on the Edge controller, which is just unreasonable.
Yeah, that's way too short.
And mind you, the DualSense controller is doing the same thing that the DualShock 4 controller was, where there's no way to access the battery without cracking the fucker open. You can't swap out the battery or at least you used to be able to on the Xbox controller. I'm not sure if you still can.
At least on all the Xbox controllers I have, you still can. But I don't know about the newest model controllers if they still, because they all just used AA batteries. You could buy battery packs to put in the slot, but AA batteries. But yeah, 4 hours is pretty unreasonable. I mean,
hell, even 5 hours, according to what they give on the base model, is unreasonable to me.
Yeah, there are many gamers out there, many gamers who can play gaming sessions that last, easily double that, 10, 12 hours at a time. And even if you take that out, even if you say like, oh, that's an edge case, like that's less than however many percentage of people. Okay, fine. But if you only got a 4-hour battery life, that means that if you play, a couple hours a day, you're going to need to remember to plug your controller up every day. Otherwise, at best, you can play for 2 days before your controller's going to die the next time you try to play. And, that sounds so easy. Like, just plug your controller up. But my phone, I don't even have to plug my phone up. All I have to do is set it on the wireless charging pad. And there's at least one day every week where I wake up and go, fuck, I didn't put my phone on the charging pad. I just set it on my nightstand. And, the phone's dead. That feels like an unreasonable ask for how people use products every day. Like there's a podcast I listen to that talks about this kind of thing all the time. And it's like companies go to court and pretend they don't understand how human beings work. And granted, I don't think anybody's taken Sony to court over this, but it's like this example of, they would say like, well, it doesn't seem unreasonable to just plug it up every night. Not acknowledging, human beings, they fall asleep on the couch, they get tired, they forget, they get distracted by their dogs or their kids or their significant others. It's like, yeah, 4 hours, 5 hours is unreasonable. 6 hours probably would be unreasonable.
Even the third-party controller Adita got me for my birthday, it has an estimated, I haven't actually ran it down enough to check it, 8 to 10 hour for the Switch.
Yeah. I would say 8 hours feels like a reasonable minimum to have. Even marathon gaming sessions, like you've got to stop to go pee.
Yeah.
Refill your drink or snack.
And it recharges in 2.
Yeah.
So, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, still, you can't beat, in terms of, battery life on a controller, you can't beat my Xbox wireless controllers using good old rechargeable AA batteries. I can get about 10 to 12 hours on a battery charge, and just pop them out, put in new ones when they're dead, and put the other ones in the little charger and plug it in.
What did I estimate mine at?
20 something hours?
Well, I have a DualShock 4, which is I think it was 8 to 10. Then I've modded it, so I've put in a bigger battery, which is a bit over twice the battery capacity. When I had to go in to swap out the charging port. While I had it open, I swapped out the battery as well because it was starting to get old. Then I go into the computer settings, and I'm using DualSense 4. So I actually have the rumble turned down to like 25 to 33%. So I'm estimating before I even go to the backup battery, because of course I have a backup battery, right?
Yeah.
So they're like 20 some hours. And the backup battery could, if I recall correctly, it's a chat pad on it that has a option to be able to feed battery power into the auxiliary port, which on at least the DualShock 4 can recharge it. I'm not sure if the new models could, the PlayStation 5 has that same feature. If they do, that's interesting. Yeah, for this, but I didn't see the port on the bottom of this controller, so I'm going to go with probably not. Right?
Yeah. Safe bet to assume no, and then be pleasantly surprised if it's yes.
So, if I really wanted to stretch it, I would probably go like a day and a half to 2 days with the backup battery. So, a little bit of playtime, right?
Yeah, just a little, a smidgen.
If I wanted to stretch it out longer, I could turn off the light. Because, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to look forward to having to replace that the thumbsticks. Because, they will eventually wear out, right?
Yeah, probably. But I have to say that as I have gotten older, I honestly just am migrating slowly back towards all wired peripherals. I had a wireless keyboard and mouse. I have migrated back to a wired keyboard and mouse. If this wireless Xbox controller I have ever dies, I'm just going to buy one of the bog standard wired ones, or fucking just solder a USB cable end onto one and just put some.
Yeah, for me, I have a mixture. Like my mouse and keyboard are wired. I do have a wireless mouse for my laptop. My controllers are all wireless with a wired option. It's not a good option on the DualShock. But I do have a wired 360 controller that has seen better days, because boy, that sucker saw some use. Especially that I got that during my racing heydays.
Yeah.
Actually, when I went to clean it one time, I kind of swapped not the thumbstick actual components, but the caps on them, so that the worn one suddenly became the right thumbstick instead of the left.
Yeah, I've done that before.
But yeah, I have a mixture, and I don't really have an issue as long as I could go in and service them. Which I should probably look into some light solder skills to be able to swap out batteries, because that's probably going to be the big thing or the big issue coming up, right?
Yeah. Thankfully, soldering at that level is pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm certainly no solder master or whatever.
You're no electro boom.
No, but I've done my fair share of soldering to replace components, capacitors.
Yeah, thankfully,
switches.
Most of what I've had to do is just plugging in components. It's not soldering.
Yeah.
At worst, it's dissolving some glue with alcohol. Yeah, just pour some vodka on it.
Right. Works every time. But yeah, I hope they still make Xbox wired controllers. I have used the PlayStation. I guess I haven't used the DualShock 4 or the DualSense 4 or whatever. When did they migrate from DualShock to DualSense? Is that new for the PS5?
I think that's the PS5 ones.
Okay. So I have used the DualShock 3. DualShock, the original DualShock, the DualShock 2, the DualShock 3. Mm-hmm. And then I've used the Wii, or not the Wii, the game that, all of the weird Nintendo controllers. And the Pro controllers are basically Xbox controllers. And I just, my hand prefers the Xbox controller.
Yeah, well, I've had, the 360 controller and the PlayStation 4 controller. And I prefer the PlayStation 4, mostly because it kind of just fits nicely in my hand. And also the added heft from the chat pad definitely helps. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The third-party Switch controller I have. It's all right. It's a little lighter than what I would like. Part of me wants to crack it open and put a lead weight in it. Because, right?
Yeah, you could do that pretty easily, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's not... But it's not a bad controller, either. Joy-Cons... I kind of hate the Joy-Cons without some sort of grip on them. Because my hands are, too fat for them.
I just like the Joy-Cons if I'm using them without the little, plastic controller attachment or just on the side of the Switch. I just like them just, free-handing it.
I have a handle that my Switch slides into that gives me extra heft onto the Joy-Cons if I'm playing it in handheld mode. And I found it far more enjoyable that way. It's not like the one that Beat 'em Up sold, but similar to that.
Yeah.
Where it's, like a textured grip. And the Joy-Cons always felt like they were too small. Like they were made for, a teenager, right?
Yeah. Or just people with smaller hands. I have pretty big hands, pretty fat hands.
Yeah,
I'd imagine you do too.
Yeah, I have pretty fat hands, and my ring size is hula hoop.
What is your ring size?
I wasn't able to actually calculate it.
My ring size is 13.
I was wanting to say it's even bigger than that. Because tried to calculate it, and it's no, I had to measure that wrong, and I never tried it again, and I was at 15 or 16.
Yeah, I got one of those rings, sizer things. Just basically the plastic credit card looking thing that has the different holes in it, and you just put your finger through till you find one that fits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually using a pair of calipers to measure the width of my finger and calculate it off that. So not as fun as fingering a credit card, but it's up there.
I do love fingering things,
And if you wish to tell us things that you would like to finger, you could do so by emailing us, vglpodcast@gmail.com. Tweet us, vglpodcast, on the Twitter, as long as that hasn't burnt to the ground. Or drop out the Discord, which you'll find a link to that over at vglpodcast.podbean.com.
Yep. What time is it? 11:30. We got time for a discovery queue.
Time to hit the music one last time for the year, because, right?
Yep, let's doobly-doo on over to a discovery queue. And I gotta
of
move
course,
on my...
I get high on life right immediately.
Yeah, I gotta move all my paint shit out of the way. Sitting here in front of my keyboard.
High on life, it looks like it would actively piss me off.
I really think it would. I really think playing it would make you mad.
Just shut up. All of you shut up.
Well, so, all right, I'm setting all this to the side. I'm done painting for tonight, but I painted 5 battle mechs while we were sitting here talking. They already had their primer on, so they got their color scheme. Desert camo is what I went for. All right, that's moving out of the way. Keyboard slid back down my desk.
Do you have one, or should I just go for another one?
Go for another one. I'm clicking Discovery Queue right now.
So, for a little bit of a cautionary tale, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Because microtransactions in a single-player game, a bunch of DLC on top of it that's high-priced. It's 50% off, and it's $64 right now.
Yeah.
Right? Although, to be fair, Season Pass does kind of double the price on that, so... But Easy Allies actually was talking about how it just wears out its welcome. It's twice as long as it should be. And I can definitely see that. That's kind of Assassin's Creed in a nutshell these days. So... If you absolutely must have Assassin's Creed, well, this is the most Assassin's Creed that Assassin's Creed can creed.
Of course. So just, I also got High on Life, but I skipped past it because I talked about it already. And then I got Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion Remaster. I never played this before. Final Fantasy VII had several things that came out after it was so popular.
Yeah.
Final
Fantasy VII just feels weird, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I've never played Crisis Core. It looks neat. Looks like, Final Fantasy VII, the remake of Final Fantasy VII. But this says it's a remaster, not the remake. So I don't know. Maybe this was like a third-person action game thing to start. But, it seemed worth talking about. It's $50. Fucking Square Enix never makes anything cheap.
Okay, hot take.
Hot take. Go for it.
I really feel like Final Fantasy VII, it wasn't that great of a story to have how many games in this universe now? And how many different stories and movies and anime, and it was interesting, but they've worn it so thin.
Yeah, but you and I are both on record as saying that we have other games in the Final Fantasy series that we think are better. We have different ones, but we both are like, yeah, no, Final Fantasy VII, not really our jam.
True. It just feels like they wear the ever-living hell out of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I got, speaking of games, Duelyst II, and this is like a fan not really remaster, but according to one of the top comments, or one of the top reviews, it's a fan revival of a game. They were able to acquire the license and basically bring back an old game. So, interesting. A deck-building strategy game, which, oh boy, we haven't seen one of those before, right?
Nope. Haven't seen one of those in a while, though.
True. They tend to kind of shit themselves in the end, so it's nice to see, the fans be able to, bring a game back that they enjoyed. So there is that. I'm not sure. It is free to play, so I'm not sure if this is. I'm assuming this is multiplayer focused, so it's going to be a bit of a issue if the game doesn't take off, like most things like this. But,
yeah. So I got Marvel's Midnight Suns, which I don't totally understand where this game is coming from, because it says, play as the Hunter, a legendary demon slayer who must lead a team of superheroes and supernatural warriors facing apocalyptic threats. I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's a more modern Marvel character, or if that's just like an insert, but it's a turn-based tactics game made by the people who made XCOM. So I'm into that. I'm into XCOM with Marvel characters. Yes, please. I want that. So I'll probably be buying this at some point. It looks like it came out a couple weeks ago. I didn't hear anything about this game, but it's going to be at the top of my list for when it goes on sale, because I don't want to pay $60 for it.
Oh, let's put it this way. I searched the Hunter Marvel, and only thing that really pops up is Kraven the Hunter.
I don't know who that is. So.
Which is the Spider-Man. One of the Spider-Man anti-heroes? Not really villain, but...
Yeah.
Looks like it's a customizable Marvel superhero. So, this game only.
Cool.
So I got... Predecessor. A fast-paced action game that combines MOBA and FPS gameplay. Because we haven't had that before, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm being facetious because, boy, have we had some games really fail that try to combine this. But it actually doesn't look too bad. It is early access. It's pay to play, which is a little troublesome. Trying to get a player base. I kind of want to go in and try to find the player stats, because I have a feeling it's going to be funny. So let's see. Actually, a lot more than I thought. All-time peak was 18 days ago at 7,339. 24-hour peak at 2,700. So not a massive amount of players, but a hell of a lot more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice if we could see one of these MOBA FPS games actually, get off the ground and stabilize, because we've seen. Well, Monday Night Combat was kind of the first one that kind of did the combo. And then that got fucked over by the sequel, shifting to the sequel, which shifted development to consoles and just was never able to take off there. I'm blanking on a couple of other ones. God damn it. Now, I'm blanking on the one that had the DNA mechanic in it.
I don't know which one that was.
Battleborn or
I don't think Battleborn had a DNA mechanic. Maybe it did.
There was one that basically it was building up a character, picking between one or two stats or talents with like a DNA in the background. So it might have been Battleborn, but we've seen quite a few of these, and they've all kind of just fizzled. So it'd be nice to see one actually take off. How about that?
Yeah.
So, what's your next one?
Yeah, Sonic Frontiers, which I think looks pretty interesting. It's an quote-unquote open-world Sonic adventure game, which has been very, divisive among the Sonic community.
I will say definitely divisive. Ooh.
It's got good reviews on Steam, like mostly overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, but I have seen the community split pretty much down the middle on this one, at least those who post on Reddit and forums and whatnot. But I mean, my favorite two Sonic games, my favorite Sonic game of all time was Sonic Adventures 2, which was close to this. And then after Sonic Adventures 1 and 2, like, they stopped doing the exploratory bits of the games, for a while. And I like that. And I think there's room in the market for an open world Sonic game if they actually, do it right. And I've heard some good things about this game. But, looks interesting. Might be one that I come back.
Definitely doesn't look
come play.
As bad as some of the preview stuff made it look, because, oh boy, remember that?
Yeah.
I will say that it does look more cohesive than what it originally looked like. Although there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of floating off in the middle of the void. That feels like it was kind of slapdash together. But that's also kind of Sonic Team's thing, huh?
Yep.
Not throwing shade at all, right?
Nope.
So how about some River City girls?
Okay.
How about two of them? Because it's River City Girls 2. Kind of a throwback to the old beat 'em ups once again, where the girls are trying to save their boyfriends. And actually, no, I'm not being facetious. That's actually or at least the plot of the first one. I'm not sure if that's the plot of the second one as well. But it's basically a role reversal on their boyfriends getting captured, and their girlfriends trying to save them. And a callback to the old River City Rampage, which was on the original NES. So, very old, just franchise that's kind of been resuscitated.
Yeah.
This does have a bit more going on than just a beat 'em up. So, alright, some power-ups, buying shit. I think some mini-games thrown in for good measure, and some over-the-top combat, so good times to be had.
Good times to be had. So I got the Callisto Protocol, which, when you look at it, looks like it should be in the Death Stranding universe, but actually this is a spiritual successor to Dead Space. So very, gory body horror.
This was a very brain fart. This was a very hyped up indie game, wasn't it? Or I guess not indie game, but like double A level game that just wasn't as good as promised. if I recall correctly.
That is what I have heard about it. I mean, yes, it was a double A level, developer budget. And it seems like they overpromised and underdelivered. I don't know. I will never play this game. No idea if it's good or bad. It's just not my kind of game. I did not like Dead Space, mostly because I'm too much of a little bitch to play horror games like that.
I'm sure it'll pop up sometime during Game Club.
Yay. Right. But
because there's only so many spooky games that we have, right?
Yeah. But I do think, that it's still noteworthy enough to be highlighted, So, Callisto Protocol.
Okay, so I have BLACKTAIL, which, let me paste that in. There you go. Forge the legend of Baba Yaga, a girl accused of witchcraft and expelled from her home.
Oh, Baba Yaga.
Yep. I completely butchered the name, but Slavic mythology and first-person shooting and deer and cats, and actually a very pretty game for. Once again, it feels like that AA level of developer.
Yeah.
This is from the same publisher that did Hard Space Shipbreaker and actually quite a bit of shit. Hey, how about that? Also the publisher of SnowRunner.
Ooh, interesting.
I mean, it doesn't really say a lot because there's a lot of stuff that they've done. The Surge, Cities XXL, because right.
Yeah.
This is a very AA focused publisher, and this looks like one of their larger games that they've done. So, yeah, I mean, Slavic myths is always a fun area to go into. Something different, right?
Yeah. Baba Yaga, to anyone listening, is very roughly in line with what we think of as the boogeyman. Just this sort of entity that comes in the night and
I didn't recognize the name at all, and I'm not familiar with it at all either. So
yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean, it just captures and or kills, people, kids who have been bad. Just one of those classic folk tales to, you better not step 1 inch out of line or you're gonna fucking wind up dead. But anyways, that's in I guess you could say English mythology or, cryptid tradition, the boogeyman is probably the closest direct comparison. But yeah. So let's see. I got the Triangle Strategy, which is a turn-based tactics RPG made by the people who did Bravely and Octopath Traveler. It looks gorgeous. Very pretty art style. Kind of a combination of what looks like sprite art and then some 3D graphic stuff. It does see HD 2D graphics, so I think it's probably doing more tilt shifting or perspective shifting to give the 3D effect.
Yeah. It looks
kind of very cool.
This is Square Enix's 2.5D thing that they've been doing since Octopath Traveler.
Yeah,
which is a interesting twist on an art style, right?
Yeah.
So I got City Skylines Financial Districts, and this looks like a very, very focused DLC. And usually I don't highlight DLC, but since this was a Game Club game, and right.
Yeah.
The main thing, it looks like it's trying to rebalance how the budget is handled, especially if your city gets tanked because of a natural disaster or shit going down, or shit going up if you have your poop pool overflow.
Right.
So invest your money into the stock market. Level up your investment funds with a stock exchange, bank buildings for a new city service. Right. I mean, it feels very targeted. In City Skylines, it's kind of gotten some DLC fatigue with me. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I really like the game, but if I wanted to get into it and feel like I have all the game or the complete package, I'm looking at quite a bit of DLC to jump in, even if you catch it right now and like it's on sale. So I would have 3 or 4 major DLC to look at and decide if I want. Right?
Yeah.
It just makes me step away from it. The fact that they have over $200 worth of DLC now, right?
Yep. I mean, that's up there in, the Sims franchise, So I got Starcom Unknown Space. I don't know. I should actually go look. Let me go look real quick. I don't know if this is made by the same people who made the game called Starcom Nexus. It would make sense that that's the case. Okay. So I have played Starcom Nexus, and they're saying that this is very similar to that. So what it is, it's an open world, air quotes, open world space exploration game. It's top down, and you are space explorers. And in this one, it looks like... So in Starcom Nexus, you wind up warped into like an unknown sector of space, and your ship is like badly damaged, almost destroyed. And the campaign is exploring the system that you're in to try to figure out how you got there, and you build your spaceship up. And there's a lot of customization. You unlock different parts, can build different parts as you play, and turn your ship into from a little scout ship into a battleship to fight your way home. It looks like this is expanding upon all of that. Looks like there's a lot more openness to it, researching tech trees. Looks like you can create more sort of customized vessel types, trade ships, exploration ships, battleships, carriers, mining vessels, etc. So it looks like they've just kind of taken the concept and expanded it. Starcom Nexus is a really good game. So if this is at least as good as Starcom Nexus, I think this one will be one worth buying. It is an indie title, so... but actually, Nexus didn't really have any major issues that I can remember. It's been a while since I've played it. Nexus is 2 or maybe 3 years old now. I don't remember there being any major issues with it, so I'm actually going to put this one near the top of a list for myself as well to look at buying coming into the new year. It's on looks like a launch release sale of 15%. I mean, it's $20 at full price. Right now, it's only $17. I'd buy that. I'd pay $17 for this game, sight unseen. Shit, I might do that. I'll think about it.
Well, you do have the Steam summer or Steam winter sale, coming up. So
yeah,
all right.
Yep.
So I got Melatonin, which
you sleepy? Need a nap?
It's possibly a good thing, right? It's a rhythm game about dreams and reality merging together, according to the Steam page. It has some very trippy dream influenced rhythm games. Like you're flying a spaceship and you're shooting lasers based on the background music. Another one of the little clips in the trailer has a guy batting at clocks. Like he's in a batting cage, and some possible level editing and remixing going on as well. I mean, it's very cutesy. Feels very dream oriented, but also just otherworldly. There's a kid on a flying chair.
Yeah.
So right. I have a feeling drugs were involved in the creation of this game.
Probably.
Not
and that's
sure
probably a good thing.
I mean, definitely some melatonin, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure about a $15 price tag, but if you're really into the rhythm games, there you go.
So, Dune Awakening, my next one. I've got one more after this one, so let's see if that's good or not. But Dune Awakening. Looks like Dune had more than one game tie-in. This one is an open world survival crafting MMO. the theme fits for Dune. Like, you're scrapping out there on Arrakis, the desert planet, trying to mine stuff. But I don't know. I don't feel like this is going to go well. Just, is it free? Is it going to be free to play? It's not out. When does it release? It just says to be announced. If this is a free to play MMO, garbage. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. If it's a subscription based MMO, it'll be dead in less than a year and transition to free to play and be garbage. If it's buy once and actually like a huge amount of it is like single player content, it might be worth it. Just, man, MMOs are hard sells in the year of our Lord current year. Hard sells, yeah. I don't know. One to watch.
Especially with the time investment, right?
Yeah. One to watch.
And my final game was a porn game, so.
Nice. So
I got Hitler, though.
I got one more. Harvestella. It's made by Square Enix. And this looks like somebody said, hey, you know that Final Fantasy 14 MMO that's so popular? What if we made that more single player? That's what this reminds me of. Because this, like, I've never played Final Fantasy 14, but I've watched a decent amount of people play it on the YouTubes. And reading through all of this on the about the game, like talking about like the job system and some of the things of like what you're supposed to do every day. This feels like they said, let's make Final Fantasy 14 a single player game where that you focus on farming and crafting and then go out and fight stuff for your crafting materials. And honestly, I'm here for that. It doesn't say it has any connection to Final Fantasy 14, but given that it's Square Enix developed and published, this really does look like Final Fantasy 14. Well, there's
like some sort of major boom going on in the farming sim games.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was the last Nintendo Direct or the one before it. The last one I watched, I should say. There may have been one since then. There was a good, half dozen different farming games show up. Yeah, I think it's the effect that Stardew Valley had. And it's just taken this long for the bigger developers like Square Enix to really move to get to this point. I do.
Yeah.
This was the higher priced one. This also popped up on Switch since then. Most of them were in the $30 or sub $30 range, and this one was a full price release. So, right?
Yeah, but I'm here for it. The one thing that has kept me from playing Final Fantasy 14 is that it's an MMO. I just don't have the time or the energy to invest or the money to invest into an MMO. So, but you take MMO gameplay mechanics and you put them in single player games, I'm here for that. So I will happily play what is basically, or at least to my eye, looks basically like an offline version of Final Fantasy 14. I'm here for it.
Right.
Yep, but that was the last one in my queue.
Yeah, and like I said, my last one was not one I could really talk about. Unfortunately, no Hitler, so.
No Hitler.
So, once again, if you wish to contact us, as Jared hopefully edited out a good majority of my hacking and coughing, because I'm still coming down off of illness, and this much talking definitely triggered something. What can I say?
Yeah.
You could contact us, vglpodcast@gmail.com. You could contact us via the Twitter, assuming it hasn't burnt down, VGL Podcast, or you drop by the Discord, which you find a link to that over at vglpodcast.podbean.com. And I'm waiting for you for the socials.
Right. Hey, Rage, why don't you hit him with the socials? Sorry, it's been a while since we've done a Discovery queue, and I forgot what I'm supposed to say when I'm finished. Hey, Rage,
that's why I was kind of just pedaling along. It's like, okay, you're supposed to ask me about socials.
Yep, hit him with them socials.
Come on, wake up.
I'm awake. I'm
do something. Stop painting.
I wasn't painting.
I've been in Caffeine Rage. You can find me sometimes tweeting over at Gaming with CR, Or if you wish to be my friend on Steam, Caffeine Rage over there. And you've been?
I've been Jared. If you want to see me do stuff until the site burns down and the lights turn off and the doors close, you can find me on Twitter at JMA4707. You can find me sometimes over on twitch.tv/runicarts. Wednesday nights is the one that I'm most commonly going to be running a tabletop game for. Vampire the Masquerade is what we play on Wednesdays when I'm running that game. You can also talk to me on our Discord. You can become my friend on Steam if you want to, jarthur4707. And I guess if you want to drive all the way to Tennessee or fly here, you could be like, hey, I'd like to meet you. And I'll be like, why the fuck do you want to do that? Be like, why the fuck do you want to do that? But then I'll come meet you.
Yeah, you'll wake up in his murder basement.
I do have a murder basement now. I have an unfinished half to my basement. So
murder basement, Tom.
But yeah, that's all my stuff.
Yeah, well, I've already given our links, so our lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find out more at patreon.com/VGLpodcast. If you wish to find links to all our stuff, you can find us at VGLpodcast.podbean.com. And we are on your podcatcher of choice if you wish to spread the love. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground, and our Discovery Cube music is Doobly Doo, both by Kevin and Chloe. Both can be found at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See ya!
Bye-bye!